it's the killing of going down a Negril there. Down a West. A 4 of them get licked, you know. I don't know how the brother drive the car out of the water. Where him think him can go? Him think of overcraft. We need to take the thing more serious, Rasta. Man, I talk about emancipendence. What the hell is emancipendence? Who come up with that?
Blessed love viewers and subscribers who are going, open all doing good, open all doing great. Now my people, we're there again with another Mutabaruka content over on the Soul Chat TV. And this one will be the latest cutting edge as of July the 31st. The latest, my people. And in this one, Mutabaruka will be covering a whole lot of topic, included slavery and also the 4 brothers that attempt to rob the Brinks truck and end up caught and have a serious shootout with the police. A whole lot more coming up in this one, my people. So definitely stay tuned because this is going to get really, really heated and also educational. So definitely stay tuned and let's take a walk. Check out what Mutabaruka have to say over on the cutting edge and share thoughts down in the comment section later on. So let's walk.
This is the cutting edge. We're there with you. Wednesday night, warm. Yes, black like a tar. And you know, coming all different shades. Africa, the motherland, man, from north to south. You go to the north, you see the people that never believe to them people, they're African. You go down in the south, in Namibia and them place there. You see a different looking kind of people, different from the one them on the west coast. You go to Ethiopia, you see a different looking people again. But guess what? Africa, them claim, we here domiciled on these former slave plantation island. Refuse to accept that reality, that we are all Africans domiciled on these plantation islands. Today is the 31st of July. Tomorrow, Jamaica will put in their memory that on the 1st of August, they had a thing named emancipation, where they claim that they set the captives free. Well, we know about something named neocolonialism, and we know about religion, and how religion combine itself with politics in the Western world, yeah, and make Emancipation Day look like it never happened. So we continuously remind you, especially them time of year, we remind you that there's a group of people who fought and is still fighting for African people to be liberated in this part of the world. Africans must be free. And the only way we can be free is if we realize we have some things over our head here by some house slave, and they maintain white supremacy with them politics and them religion continuously. We're there with you know, yeah. I may forget something there. Look at how we are going to join Rogers over Sligoville. A Sligoville him there? We are going to join Roger because there's another emancipation celebration over there, so. Roger.
Greetings, Muta. How you doing, man?
Well, I don't know. I try to find out. I try to figure out when the cutting edge will start. Anyway.
Myself here too.
Where
So, we're here at Emancipest. And it's in Sligoville.
Emancipest? Wait. What name Emancipest?
It is a event put on by the Sligoville Heritage Committee. And of course, you know, Sligoville is the original free village in Jamaica. So this is the 17th staging of Emancipation, where they celebrate emancipation. And at 12 o'clock they'll be having the reading of the proclamation. You know, and so it's quite a historic event. It's a historic town up in the cool hills.
Yeah, man, I remember it. Sligoville. I remember,
So you can travel from Red Hill side, smooth road all the way down. You can travel from Spanish Town, the Sligoville road from Spanish Town side. And they can also take it from, past Pinnacle. Yeah. Right. And also you can travel from Bogwalk side at the bridge. You turn left and come up the hill. And it's a beautiful stadium up in the hills here. Cool conditions, and it's a real hidden gem here in Sligoville, this massive stadium. And it has a cricket field, it has a football field, it has tennis, basketball courts, stands that can hold up to 10,000 people or more. And right now, I can tell you that is a massive crowd here tonight. Of course, it's a 2-day event, and tonight they are having the gospel segment of Emancipest, and all this, I tell you, more than 5,000 seats are on the field, and they are totally filled. And then there's another 5 or more thousand people inside, up and in the stands right now, plus many other persons walking up and down. And they are, you know, just going by the respective tents that are selling food and all sorts of things, memorabilia, historical stuff, you know, history about Sligoville and so on. And this morning they had Kids Olympics, they had Adults Fun Zone, they had lots of attractions, they're having dances, they're having poetry reading, they're having all sorts of stuff, they're having the gospel concert now as we speak, and the headline act tonight will be Kevin Downswell, and he'll come up sometime before 12 o'clock before they'll be reading the proclamation. Then there'll be a beautiful sighting up on the hill where the proclamation was held back when Sligoville was declared the first free village, and that is going to be a spectacle. We are heading into the stands. We're going to speak with a couple persons or so. Good night, madam. How are you doing?
I'm good, you know.
You enjoying yourself?
Yes, I am.
Are you a resident of Sligoville?
Yes, I live
Yeah, you know about the history of Sligoville?
I kinda not much.
Not much.
No.
So you don't know that the first free village in Jamaica?
Yes, I do know that.
What you know, what old people them tell you? Your grandfather, your grandmother?
I did not. My grandparents weren't from Sligoville. They just came here to live, and I did not get to interact much with them because when I know them, they were very old, you know. Mm-hmm. They were up in age. My mom, she left Sligoville when she born in Sligoville.
Right.
But she left Sligoville when she was about 12 years old and went away. So we only came back here.
So what are your thoughts about the old works in terms of Emancipest here in Sligoville?
Well, I look forward to every year.
Yeah?
I look forward to every year. This is my son fest.
Yeah? And your name is?
Yes, this is my son.
And your name is?
Norma Campbell.
And you're from Sligoville?
Yes, I do.
Alright, thank you very much for speaking to me. Alright, let's head into the crowd. We'll speak now to two other persons. Good night, madam. How are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Yes, from Sligoville? Are you from Sligoville? Hold the mic to your mouth, man. You are. Hold on. You turn off the mic, man. Hold on. Alright, you're from Sligoville?
Yes, I am.
Are you enjoying yourself?
Yes, I do.
You know about the history of Sligoville?
First free village.
First free village?
Yes.
Where old people them tell you?
Huh?
What was told to you when you was a child about Sligoville and free village and so on?
That, I remember.
Yeah. Oh, God, man. That don't look good. That don't look good. You can't talk to me? You're from Sligoville?
No.
Where are you from? Where are you from?
No, I don't want to.
You don't want? You're from nowhere?
No.
Yeah, where are you from? Space? Alright, thank you very much. Hello, good night, madam. How are you doing?
Hi, good night. I am great.
Are you from Sligoville?
Yes, I am from Sligoville.
You know about the history of Sligoville?
It's the first free village.
Yes.
Yes.
And how you feel about that?
Well, I feel great to know that it's the first free village and we're having a free concert tonight in Sligoville.
And of course, looking forward to tomorrow.
Sure, definitely.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Hello, good night, madam. How are you doing? I'm from Ira FM.
Good night.
Are you from Sligoville?
Yes, I'm from Sligoville.
Yeah, you know about the history of Sligoville?
Yes, I know that Sligoville is the first free village.
Yes.
Yes.
What else them tell you?
This Manifest is 17 years now. We have it going on.
Yeah.
And it is,
yeah.
It is organized by Natalie Nita Edley.
Yeah, all right. Respect. Hello, good night. How you doing?
Good night, I'm good.
You look like a youngster. You're from Sligoville?
Not originally, but I moved there.
You live here. You know about the history of Sligoville?
A little. I know that it's the first free village.
Yeah.
Free from what? Hey.
That's very good.
Free from what? Ask him free from what?
Free from what?
Slavery, bondage, all of that.
Alright, she's not hearing it, but she hear when me ask her the question.
When that happened?
When
that happened?
When it happened?
I'm not sure.
1834.
1834?
That's all. Alright. Alright, thank you. Hello, good night, ma'am. How you doing?
Hi.
Are you from Sligoville as well?
I was born here, but I live in Canada now.
You're from Canada?
Yes.
You're born here, but you live in Canada now?
Yes.
So you know about the history of Sligoville?
Yes.
What you know about it?
We're the first free village.
And what, as a young girl growing up, what were some of the traditions that you think that was brought, that you learned about growing up in this first free village?
We're very independent.
Yeah?
Yes.
And you learned that from early?
I learned that from very, very young.
Alright, thank you very much. All the best.
Welcome.
Are you enjoying yourself?
Yes.
Alright. Yeah, man, so the gospel concert is truly up and running. The people are waving anything they have in their hands right now. It's a massive affair here up in the hills of Sligoville, the first free village, and it's Emancifest 2024. This is our final link for tonight. Of course, you'll be here tomorrow all day interacting with all the persons down here in Sligoville, Emancifest 2024. So until then, Roger Haspel for the final time. Back to Muta.
Yes, asphalt. Yeah, man.
Bless up.
That was asphalt up in Sligoville there. Everybody says the first free community. Yeah, we all get for talk. Me feel them for talk about more where Sligoville is. You know, not just it was the first free village. You know, there's more to it than that, man. It's like you ask somebody, well, you know about Marcus Garvey, them say come from St. Anne. That I don't know about Marcus Garvey. If I don't St. Anne, you can't tell you same come from. Anyway, that is the indication where we have. That's a mind of the people them there. Alright, you know what we're going to do? We're going to go back to Teddy in a civil great house. Teddy.
Yes, Muta, we're coming to you live from a civil great house. And of course, on stage right now we have, what's that? That's what? Kumina? Yeah, a cultural group on stage dancing and of course showing traditional folk forms there on stage at this time as we speak. Now Muta, the crowd has now swollen a massive crowd. I think we have about 10,000 and counting. More people are making their way inside the venue. And of course, everyone are walking around with their enamel cup. And of course, they're going for their refill. And can I tell you something? I don't know when Nicholas Francis gone. But a little birdie whisper tell me, say, him buy one big enamel cup, one of the biggest one, right? And him gone back over there, gonna get a refill.
Mine are the chimney buy, you know. Mine are the chimney buy, you know. Are the chimney buy, man.
Muta, it looks like up. It look like a chimney buy. And him say, I'm gonna bring over some so me can get some too. But anyway, we're glad for that. Now, we have lots of sponsors who make it possible. And one of such sponsor is the Chase Fund. And I'm here with he is the managing director or executive director?
Chief Executive Officer.
Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Billy Haven. All right, so welcome, sir. I heard you make a grand statement earlier on stage. Over $2 million in sponsorship. Am I correct?
No, our sponsorship for this event is $5 million. But since Hurricane Beryl, this building that we are now in suffered lots of damage, so we put a further $2.8 million towards the renovation and fixing up of the building.
Excellent. I'm very happy to hear that. So, major sponsor for the event. What does this mean, though, for our culture and our heritage?
One of the sectors of the Chase Fund is arts and culture, and this falls right under that mandate of the fund. We have been supporting this event since our inception 21 years ago. I think this event is about 28 years going and still going and going very strong as well. So we always look forward to supporting events like this. This is not the only one. We are supporting the entire list of activities for our independence and emancipation celebration. We just gave the ministry itself over $30 million towards those activities. So we are pretty much a part of the celebration in terms of financing the different activities, so that if you look at the crowd here tonight, so that these people can come here without it costing them anything. It's just really free to them to come here and be reminded of their history, the good part of it, the bad part of it, and so on. But, you know, it brings us together as a people.
Yes, sir, Billy, well said. And I know that you have been sponsoring most events around Jamaica and across the island.
Yeah.
Anything booming right now from the Chase Fund in terms of other initiatives?
Well, as you know, we also have early childhood education as part of our mandate, arts and culture and health. And since the passage of Hurricane Beryl, we have put $110 million in special funds towards these three sectors, $50 million towards early childhood education and $50 million towards health and $10 million towards arts and culture, focusing primarily on the libraries because they suffered a lot of damage right across, but more in particular on the southern coast of the country. And here at Seville as well, we have put $2.8 million to bring back this building.
Yes, Sir Evan, two more questions. For a local community group, or farmers group, or groupings of individuals out there, non-profit, and so they want to get in touch with Chase Fund and to sponsor their projects and their initiative, how can they go about that?
Well, it's a simple application process. We are online. You could apply through our website, but there's a special project facilitation there as well. But you could also write a simple letter to us, and we have project officers who will take it from there and help you to build out your project. Some of the applications that we have seen really come to us at the concept stage, and we have to really help them through. And some of these projects, when they materialize, are really, really good projects and add value to communities and to districts and so on, as we call them here in Jamaica.
Excellent. My final one. I know we have a long list of lineup here,
yeah.
And I can tell you my favorite two entertainers. I'm patiently waiting to see perform tonight. Admiral Bailey and George Nooks. Who are your favorite for tonight?
I like both men because I know both men. But you know, as a sponsor, I really don't like to single out and to be caught in that trap. I just like everybody. As a sponsor, I like everybody.
That is being very diplomatic, yes. and I respect that.
I do.
All right. Any closing remarks?
I just want the people to come out and have a good time. It is more than about a good time. It is a fundamental part of our history and what our people went through and suffered and all of that. So I really want them to come out and see what is happening here, to be part of this activity every year. Each year at this time, it is held right here at Seville, and you know it can help to enlighten us and to help us to realize who we are as a people, where we're coming from, and where we need to go. Not necessarily where we're going, but where we need to go.
Excellent note to finish this interview on. For those who are just joining, we're talking to Mr. Billy Haven, and he is the CEO of the Chase Fund, the major sponsor for Civil Emancipation Jubilee 2024. Still on the lineup, yet to come to hit the stage, we have Admiral Bailey, we have Leroy Sibley's, we have George Nooks, we have Lubert Levy, and of course, festival song winners, gospel song winners, and a host of others, Sister Pat and more. It's an excellent night to come take the family and of course, be a part of the festivities and learn more about our rich cultural heritage right here at the Civil Great House. Muta!
Teddy, what we are not stepping right now, Teddy. Them not have nobody down there we are talk about Civil Great House. You know, why a Civil Great House did it so. If anybody down there knows it was one six capital. Nobody now they are talk about them something there and how much people don't them talk about the body them when they down there where IRFM and Million Phillips and ones carry go back to Africa.
No, they never
through
talk
the
about
doors of no return. But that, I mean, them not talk about it. The white. You didn't know about that. You didn't know about that. You didn't know about that.
You teach me about it now.
No, me not teach nobody, man. Me not down there. Me not say. Wait, listen to me. IRFM in collaboration with, I mention Million Phillips. She died. Carry back the bones of one of the ones them who was buried on that site through the door of no return in Ghana, west coast of Africa. That should be something that is branded in other people them who didn't know instead of who you wait for to come up on stage and all them something there.
I mean, you know that from
it's a different
from your mention that bring back the remains, I can recall my visit down here on numerous occasions that they normally, it's a regular thing once you visit the Great House.
Them portion of it come down, they come put weed pan one of the grave them, man.
Yes, man. So
then that no one main thing that you know.
Yeah, man, but I know I must say I must clarify that I mean Blackwood Meeks on stage, and she have been educating the crowd about most of that. Plus, we have the Jamaica National Heritage Trust. They have team members around the venue and the facility, and also they have a major booth set up, and they have been educating the people about the history and the remains here and the history behind it and all of that. So I didn't know that IRFM played a pivotal role in that muta.
Well, you should have known that. You should have known that as a man who is officially outdoor every day. You're late for something, you're gone for some outdoor broadcast. That is a very important part of IRFM thing. We used to down there every year, you know.
Yes.
Every year, me and Cabo down there, you know. Sit down on the top of bus and all them something there, broadcast and all them something there. You understand? So it's something where we can't leave out of the whole scheme of the thing. It's not just a matter of, you know, we're going to have gospel concert and no reggae concert and all them something there. It's much more than that, man. Emancipation, they matter about, you know.
Yes, man. They have been saying it, Muta. They have been saying it. And I can testify that it has been repeating over and over to the people here and the young people. And Muta, I must mention that we have a very young, a mixed audience, and I'm seeing a lot of babies, the families, young people out Muta. And it's right now, it's 50-50 in terms of the balance.
And they must get the message. And they must get the message, you know. Because if you never have a concert, don't the whole part of them wouldn't be there. So since you, where you laugh at? I don't lie.
No, because that's true.
Yeah, so now that you have a concert down there, you should have them attention by putting in some of them something there, down there that, we can't hear it on the radio, I mean, I hear not about it, I mean, I hear about how much man put money in this and man put money in that.
Yeah, you know, we have to big up with sponsors then.
No, me not say enough to big them up. Me not say enough to big them up. Me not say enough to big them up.
Muta, I go and walk, go down in the crowd and go in for the next link and say me can interact with somebody, but you don't know a thing already.
No, me not say nothing about that. Watch out, me not say enough to do what you do, no, Bridget. But me not say, every time you go link you, me go hear say, you know, the sponsor you put how much $1 million there so, and tourist attraction there so, and, you know, cave and this is that and that. You know what I mean? It have to have something.
Muta, at
the
12
people
o'clock.
Here come across the radio, man.
That is true. At 12 o'clock, I think they are saving that for the Honourable Minister, and we will be speaking with
Which minister? Which minister?
The Honourable Babsy Grange. And she will be speaking. And you and her go way back. So, you and her will have that interaction at 12.
No, you what? Let me tell you something. Last year,
yes.
Me and Cabo, the down there, you know, and it create one thing with the foreign affairs mistress and and Babsy there. Because we ask some question and we need some answers, and it kind of get a little weird that them lock her off and make she can't answer no more questions between me and Cabo. So I don't know if Teddy is the one where them say no. I better make Teddy come. Me a cough. Anyway,
all right.
Give thanks.
We'll link again, Muta.
Yeah, I
respect. Thanks.
Yeah, that was Teddy. I from outside broadcast coming through live and in living colors. All right, me could go back to this. You know, it's a weird thing, you know, like I've been going around different places and talking to different youth, big people and all them something there. And we ask them about Marcus Garvey. I don't think them can tell about Marcus Garvey that in Barn at St. Anne, you know. Yeah, man, that's all they can tell you. Say Marcus Garvey Barn at St. All right, so what? Tell me something about Marcus Garvey. Not even the teacher them know about Marcus Garvey. No Emancipation Day. I can't tell the Virgin says about 10,000 people down there. Most side, I go be sure and then everybody go home. I mean, let's say nobody come in. I mean, a black go down there and she never no say nothing about it. But it's a celebration of history where you should have and necessarily have to have one zongle who can speak to why the celebration is happening. And not only why, but just like what we are talking about, you know, civil great house and the bodies them that was there. And as I say, one of the most important thing happening at civil great house is the return of that bone to Ghana. That open a whole heap of door for make other countries, even in New York City, and move back bones go to Ghana too. To the door of no return. No, that you can't just mention that. Or you cannot mention that. I the only radio station will get so deep into what is necessary to move the minds of the people there. Me the Virgin I tell you interview with the first Virgin I tell him I tell you about, you know, we need to come we need to we're free, we save out of bondage and we need to free, you know, and we have economics. Him not mention the mind of the people them. The mind of the people them is totally warped. Totally warped. Especially the youth them. Them don't know if them going backward or forward. Crazy. Look how much of the youth them I see the police them are around for shoot man and kill them now. Them not around for so much. It's the killing of go on down a Negril there. Down a west. A four of them get licked, you know. I don't know how the brother drive the car out of the water. Where him think him can go? Him think of overcraft. We need to take the thing more serious, Rasta. Man, I talk about emancipendence. What the hell is emancipendence? Who come up with that? Who come up with that slogan, emancipendence? What emancipation have to do with independence? It's a total different thing. Emancipation is depend the mark and them take it up. We, Rasta, I can mention Jalide and Macaulay and all them man there, go in a park and all them there and demonstrate and then put it back on the map. Then put it back on the calendar. Because it come off of the calendar. Very important. I know it depend on the calendar as just a name, Emancipation Day. And when you look on Emancipation Day, which is supposed to be a landmark move in history where Africans fight, white people fight for them right, to liberate themselves. That the amount of plantation where they have burned down and the white man couldn't take it no more. He have to yield. He must yield in England about this emancipation. So it's not like say the people them know about these things. You know, when they ask you, what do you know about Sligoville? It's the first free area in Jamaica. So what? So what that mean now? Free from what? Free from what? I don't know, I can manage with that stuff, you know, because I can't just sit down and hear certain things and not say something. You know, see, I can't just sit down and hear certain things and not say something, man. People have to know Sligoville. Why we come up here, so it's not to see a stage show. If you don't that, them come for do. But you who create that thing must put something in it that the people them can go away and tell them pick. Because most of them people don't know what it is more than the first free village. That's all them know. There's more to it than that. More to it than that, man. Because you have to come from Spanish Town, you have to come up the hill and pass Pinnacle. You have to pass Pinnacle. You can go down through Red Hills, and you can go down through the gorge. But there's more to it than that. And that is where there is the more to it me I talk about. The more to it. What we need to know. Just like when we talk about Marcus Garvey. There's more to Marcus Garvey than him born at St. Anne. And him did have an organization named UNIA. And most of them, when you tell them, sorry, so what UNIA mean? Them don't know what it mean. Them don't know what UNIA mean. Most of the teachers them are teaching at Jamaica don't know what UNIA mean. Me not ask nobody that. Me know that. We're going to go a break and come forward.
In coordination and execution, Mr. Sidney Bartley, former PS and and director of
Muta don't laugh.
Muta
don't laugh.
Wow, man, I like Kevin to see you, no, brethren.
Muta, me they all about the place, brethren.
Eh?
Yeah, man.
Wow.
Maybe give my talent.
And somebody tell me to them.
People, you know.
Somebody tell me to them see you down there, you know.
Yeah, man, I have to give back my talent to Jamaican people, you know.
All right, sir.
Have to be supported.
All right, sir. Give thanks to hear you.
Well, go on.
Me there, man. Me there. I got you still.
As always, brother. Keep it going.
Yeah, man. So you sound stuff up like me, so you sound stuff up like me, man.
Enough work, Muta, enough work.
All right, sir.
Trying to get a certain element of this program tonight.
Tonight, okay.
There's an element that I've been involved in that comes right after this.
What that? Tell me.
What has happened is that you know that an apology, a formal and sincere apology, is the first step towards reparations.
Yes.
Right. And although we've been trying to get the British government to apologize and to make reparations, there are some citizens of England, of the UK, who have discovered that their ancestors were in fact enslavers. And they have been horrified by the discovery that the wealth that they have earned has come out of enslavement. And they have approached the ministry over months, seeking an opportunity to formally apologize and to align themselves with the movement to lobby the British government for reparations.
Them involve the Jacks family?
No, the Jacks family is not a part of this.
Okay, because I know they're not Barbados.
I know, right. But we have our own Jacks also. There's a connection.
They're the same people, them.
But what we're doing is building.
Yeah.
So we start with a group that has come together. They call themselves Heirs of Slavery.
Okay.
And what they have done is some of them have apologized. They have not been able to be here physically. And they have sent a video apology. Various families. The Gladstone family. You remember there was a prime minister called Gladstone.
Gladstone, yes.
The Harrison family. Yes. The Wedderburns. The Rentons. And there's one family that is actually here. Two sisters, Heidi and Kate, have come all the way from New Zealand. Apparently they moved to New Zealand. Yes. They had an estate called at Argyle in Hanover. and they actually came to Jamaica. They have gone to Argyle. They visited Argyle. They spoke to the people of Argyle, apologized to the people of Argyle, and then they are here tonight to do a formal apology to the people of Jamaica.
Okay.
The Guardian newspaper discovered that one of their founders was in fact an enslaver.
Yes.
And they have sent a formal apology.
Okay.
And they have decided that they're going to work with us to lobby the British population towards seeking reparations from the British government.
Any Beckford did they?
No Beckford.
Any Brown did they from Brownstone? Anybody Brown did they? You never know that. You never know everybody.
I know that. No, man. Almost every place in Jamaica.
Yeah, man. Brown
is the name of an enslaver.
Yeah.
Right? And you know that the Archbishop of Canterbury, he apologized at the Anglican service the other day. We are carrying a part of that apology tonight as well to the whole Jamaican diaspora.
Okay. So we'll hear that part of the year. Can we hear that part of the year?
Yeah, man, because it comes right after this.
Okay.
We have created a production to promote.
Yeah, but why hear it part of the year?
Yeah, man. Well, Irie's here, you know, so you have to be able to do it. But it comes right now. The minister and some people are laying floral tributes, so I've got to go to the stage to coordinate the stage of the apology.
Yes, all right, sir. Give thanks.
But you know, say this is a major thing.
Of course.
For the first time, at least,
That's why I'm saying why I hear it here that the whole of Jamaica can hear them over the night.
Yes, my brother. Yes.
Tell you can't make a put it on radio.
If there's any time, yeah, man, because we are CPTC is recording it, and so if at the end of it, if there's space to talk about it, we can talk. And if there's an opportunity, as I said, the two sisters are here. The two sisters are here.
And I love to talk to them too.
Yeah, so if you wait until if we are able to get back to you after it's done, I'm willing to take them right here to speak.
All right, sir. You hear that, Teddy?
Yes, Muta. Yeah.
All right, bring them to make we talk to them. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
All right. No.
All right, brethren.
Yeah. All right.
They're gonna run now.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Sidney Bartley. Of course, a stalwart and veteran.
Yeah, long time in the boat.
Entertainment. Yes, long time. I know him first, long for many years in the ministry. So, Muta, that's a 411. They kind of scale down the activities now to pay respect to the ancestors.
Yeah.
And there are a series of administrative things that will be done now. To spread the message of the importance of this event. So that's the 411 happening. We're going to close off now. So I want to say thanks to Nicholas Francis. We will join the apology as your request. So we'll have to move now closer to the stage to get a feed from the stage.
All right, sir. Give thanks.
Respect, Muta. Bless.
Why play this on this Emancipation Day? Here we go.
The courts of law give us the chance to judge innocence and guilt. But is guilt reduced or removed by the passage of time? That's the question raised by our next document. For more than 300 years, European merchants forced Africans onto slave ships and transported them across the Atlantic Ocean. And Britain played a huge part in this human trade. British ships carried around 3 million slaves to America and the Caribbean, where they worked on plantations, helping to build the wealth of the City of London. The trade made many organizations rich, and I've discovered in the archives that includes a very surprising name. God Almighty has set before me the abolition of the slave trade. So wrote the great reformer William Wilberforce. And yet, during the 18th century, there were slaves in the Caribbean who bore branded on their chests the word society. This 1817 register of slaves in Barbados reveals that society means the honourable and reverent society for the propagation of the gospel in foreign parts, the missionary arm of the Church of England. And here is that society listed as owning some 400 slaves. Listed here, then, is every man, woman and child owned by the society. We see that their ages range very considerably. Cudjoe is 70 years old, and he's working as a domestic. It seems that Ben George can be set to work as a grass gatherer, even though he's only 10 years old. Some slaves are still alive at a very grand age. Here's Rita, who's 90 years old. She's infirm. She's no longer working. But on the other hand, Okoa and Kwashiba, who are both 80 years old, are both still working as nurses. The documents don't reveal the conditions that some of the slaves would have endured. 12-hour working days in intense heat, punishments such as the lash or being put in leg irons. For the slave owners, like the church, it was the profit of the plantation that mattered. These pages bear the musty smell of their 200 years and also the stench of hypocrisy. Today we can still see the wealth in our capital constructed on the foundations of slavery. The Corporation of London had its seat in the magnificent Guildhall. Sir William Beckford made a fortune from slave plantations in Jamaica and was twice Lord Mayor. William Beckford, the Lord Mayor, might have been focused on profit, but the church added a moral purpose to slavery.
They recognise that slavery is problematic, but they also recognise that these slaves, that Africans, come from this dark continent, and therefore they need to be civilised. And slavery, while not perfect, provides an opportunity for bringing Africans into the body of humanity.
Does the Church of England succeed with this mission of civilising the slaves?
It's a complete failure. They failed to convert the numbers that they had hoped to, partly because Christianity provides a point of resistance for slaves. How do you resist this terror? Well, you refuse to take on their religion. They brand slaves with hot irons as a sign of ownership, and they flog them to death, and they also sell them off when they can't work anymore.
So they don't treat them any better than slaves on any other plantation?
That's what the historical documents suggest, that the Church of England plantation is no different to any other plantation.
Glory, glory, hallelujah, when I lay my burden down.
The international slave trade was abolished in 1807. But it wasn't until 1833 that Parliament outlawed slavery as an institution. Compensation was paid, not to the slaves, but to their owners. Documents show that for freeing its slaves, the church received nearly £9,000, a fortune at that time.
We have in Britain today a history of churches, of church buildings that are built on the blood and sweat and brutalisation
for the Church of England's role. But neither it nor the state has met calls to pay reparations. Its historic actions clearly weigh on the conscience of the Church of England.
Yes, that was a little slippers of the church owned slaves, and that is in England. Yes, and we were just told that someone is here who found it necessary to come to Jamaica to apologize for the slavery that their ancestors took part in and still is taking part in. So here we go again, here we go.
Slavery is a system of forced labor that has existed throughout the world for thousands of years. In America, slavery began in the 17th century when people in Africa were overpowered and forced to leave their native land, their culture, and their families behind.
Europeans and others did not simply march into Africa and just take people off. I mean, there were battles, there were wars that were lost, by the British, by the French, by the Portuguese, as well as those which were won. You had males and females leading forces against the enslavers.
Europeans responded by coercing one tribe to enslave another, threatening to arm their enemies with terrifying new weapons if they did not cooperate. These tribal slave traders selected strong, healthy males and females between the ages of 18 and 35, although children were often captured as well. The African captives were chained together at the ankle or wrist, or linked at the neck by a wooden yoke. Once bound, the captives embarked on a grueling march, sometimes as long as 600 miles to the coast, where European ships awaited them. Many perished from the rigors of the trip. Others resisted their captors and were killed. The Atlantic crossing took from 4 to 8 weeks. Men, women, and children were crowded into tightly packed quarters. The ordeal was so demoralizing that the Africans often sank into a deep depression. Some chose death rather than to endure the degradation.
They attempted to escape on ships by simply, if the opportunity offered itself, by leaping off and drowning or whatever. Once they were bound by the continental United States, the protest took the form more of insurrection.
The first slaves in the American colonies, a cargo of about 20 Africans, arrived at Jamestown, Virginia in 1619. The number of enslaved Africans increased steadily each year. By 1763, the colonial population included an estimated 230,000 Africans, most of them slaves in the South.
A slave was someone who could be forced to work from the age of 8, 6, 4 even, long hours at tasks that someone else decided. A slave was a person who had no right to a vacation. A slave was a person who had no rights to wages. A slave could have no property. A slave could not marry.
By the late 18th century, the textile industry had entered a period of rapid development in both England and in the northern United States. This growth created a tremendous demand for Southern cotton. In 1793, Eli Whitney developed the cotton gin, a machine that cleaned cotton 5 times faster than manual methods. As a result, more slaves were needed to pick and haul the cotton. By 1860, there would be 4 million African slaves in the United States. This enormous population of slaves was owned by a small group of the wealthiest and most powerful whites in American society. As African slaves toiled in the fields, laws were created to enforce their low status. They were prohibited from participating in lawsuits, from owning property or firearms, and from possessing alcohol. Most states did not recognize slave marriages and often prohibited slaves from learning to read and write. The treatment slaves received from their masters varied tremendously. Some owners were brutal sadists who worked their slaves mercilessly and threatened them with corporal discipline so painful that it amounted to torture.
And if you were ordered to do a task that you knew would be dangerous to you, you had to do it. So even though it's tempting to put poverty and slavery together, they were very different. And the difference is that enslaved workers had no rights.
A slave had no protection from this mistreatment because the law considered a slave another man's property, not a human being. When a slave suffered a whipping, he could neither fight back nor take his master to court. Slaves developed an independent culture unknown to their masters. They spun fantastic spoken narratives that passed from one generation to the next. These folk tales expressed the enslaved Africans' aspirations for a better life. Many slaves found strength to endure oppression through their religion, which blended Christianity with African beliefs.
Spirituality was a strong force in the life of the slave. Slaves could turn to God with all of their problems. Slaves could ask God to either relieve them of the burden of a brutal slave master or to free them from the day-to-day struggle in their lives.
At the core of slave society was the family. Slave families suffered when one member was sold to another plantation. Owners usually kept women and children together, selling off the father and sons. On the well-established plantations, black families had a better chance of remaining intact, some enduring for 3 or 4 generations. Although religion, folk tales, and family life softened the horrors of slavery, they did not lessen the humiliating aspects of servitude. Slaves sought more direct means of resisting their bondage through violent rebellion or subtle and covert acts of resistance.
You found people who were enslaved that resisted by working very slowly, pretending that they didn't know how to do something, accidentally breaking equipment, just slowing down the process, not happy-go-lucky going along with everything. These were all forms of resistance.
Wherever there were Africans in the Western Hemisphere, there were slave revolts. Haiti's Toussaint Louverture helped rid the island of European domination by organizing his people into a standing army of several thousand troops. The best-known slave revolt in U.S. history occurred in 1831 in Southampton, Virginia. It was led by a plantation headman named Nat Turner, who rose up in revolt with other slaves and killed the plantation owner and his family. The rampage was halted when local militia crushed the rebellion, capturing and executing Turner. Many men and women known as abolitionists worked unceasingly to end slavery. They viewed slavery as immoral and unchristian and could not comprehend how Americans, steeped in the tenets of the Declaration of Independence, could sanction the enslavement of human beings. Many former slaves, like Sojourner Truth, supported the abolitionist movement. She traveled widely, speaking for both racial and gender causes.
Sojourner Truth, using her very strong religious beliefs, felt this need, this urge to travel the country, delivering her message of upliftment for black people, and ultimately did become someone who was involved in many other activities, including the abolitionist movement, including the women's movement.
The abolitionist movement attracted members of both races, including the prominent journalist William Lloyd Garrison, who published The Liberator, the leading anti-slavery newspaper of the day. Frederick Douglass, another towering figure in the anti-slavery movement, was born a Maryland slave in about 1817. Escaping to the North, he became an agent of the Massachusetts Anti-Slavery Society and a tireless orator for black freedom. In 1847, Douglass founded an abolitionist newspaper, the North Star.
He was politically active and simply involved in every aspect of life that he could in an attempt to improve the status of black Americans in the 19th century. There's certainly individuals in the 20th century, such as Martin Luther King, who've had a similar impact as Frederick Douglass did in his time. So I would say to a high school student that who is more likely to know of Martin Luther King in our modern time, that he should be aware of Frederick Douglass as the equivalent of a Martin Luther King in the 19th century.
On plantations, slaves performed numerous jobs and were placed in hierarchical ranks. Field slaves were usually divided into gangs of 5 to 10, and supervised by a slave driver, often a slave himself. Many slaves escaped to freedom along a series of trails known as the Underground Railroad. The railroad was a loose network of people willing to hide runaway slaves in their homes and conduct them to the next station or safe house until they could reach the free North. The Underground Railroad was also aided by Northern abolitionist organizations such as the Philadelphia Vigilance Committee, who gave supplies and helped conduct slaves to freedom.
The Philadelphia Vigilance Committee was a very important group engaged in aiding fugitive slaves. It was a group that had operated from the late 1830s into the early 1840s, and it was comprised of fugitives as well as free blacks and white supporters. It was a group that aided the Underground Railroad, and their primary job was to aid fugitives with food and clothing and money, and to direct them on to other places.
Pursued by angry slave masters and bounty hunters, the route for escaped slaves was perilous and hard. Many did not survive the hardship or were caught and returned to their masters. The most famous guide on the Underground Railroad was Harriet Tubman. Having escaped from a Maryland plantation in 1849, she became familiar with the roads, hiding places, and depots that were used to conduct runaways to freedom in the North.
Harriet Tubman was a brave, courageous, wise, and kind person. Not only did she concern herself about her liberty, but she concerned herself about people of all races. As you know, one reason why the Underground Railroad is so popular among people throughout the world is that people of all races, creeds, and colors came together.
Tubman's method relied on secrecy and surprise. She would gather money and supplies in the North, then slip down to the eastern shore through Delaware and into Maryland, arriving unannounced until the last moment. She would make contact with the slaves who were ready to escape.
She would simply appear on the eastern shore, and the word would be quickly spread to all of those who were determined that they would be free, where they should meet her at the appointed hour. And of course, those who chose freedom met her there and embarked with her on the trek to freedom. After she learned from her first venture that she could not trust slaves to determine that they were going to drop out, she packed a revolver, and for those who determined that they were going to turn around, she told them go forward or die.
To avoid suspicion, Tubman sang traditional slave spirituals to relay coded messages to slaves.
She stole away into the night and crept along the various slave quarters or cabins, oftentimes whispering or knocking on doors, more or less singing, steal away, steal away, steal away to Jesus. I ain't got long to stay here, was a coded spiritual informing the slaves to steal away.
Having gathered her flock, Tubman would travel at night and conduct them to Delaware or Pennsylvania. She used only the most trusted contacts and safe houses along the route of the Underground Railroad. One such key station on the Underground Railroad was Johnson House in Germantown, Pennsylvania. Owned by Quakers, Johnson House was a safe haven for exhausted runaway slaves. In 1850, the Fugitive Slave Act intensified the risk for runaway slaves. Under federal law, any Negro accused of being a runaway could be returned to slavery by the sworn statement of the slave's owner. Northern states that had been safe for fugitive slaves became dangerous as runaway slaves were hunted for reward. To be safe, Tubman extended her Underground Railroad trail to St. Catharines, Canada, a town near Niagara Falls.
Walk together, children. Walk together, children. Don't become weary. We're going to make it to the promised land. I have shoes. You have shoes. All God's children have shoes. When you get to heaven, going to put on their shoes and walk all over God's heaven. Heaven was a code word for Canada.
During her trips to the South, Harriet Tubman became known as the Moses of her people, referring to the biblical Moses who delivered his people from Egyptian bondage. She successfully conducted over 600 slaves to freedom, including her own family.
And freedom is a word that has tremendous resonance, particularly for black Americans, but also for Americans in general, because slavery stands right behind it, and we know so much about what slavery meant. Slavery was a terrible condition that no one wanted to embrace or to be part of. So freedom is glorious because it's the denial, it's the triumph over slavery.
In 1857, the growing abolitionist movement suffered a setback when the United States Supreme Court handed down a controversial decision in the case of Dred Scott versus Sanford. Dred Scott, a black slave, brought suit against his owner on the grounds that he had legally become emancipated while traveling through the free soil state of Illinois. The Supreme Court ruled against Scott, declaring that as a black man he was not a United States citizen and thus had no right to bring a suit in a federal court. More importantly, the court ruled that a slave did not automatically gain his liberty by entering a free state.
The legal system was available to African Americans to a certain extent, which means that they could pursue their grievances through the courts, but it did not mean necessarily that the courts would be sympathetic to their interests or that fairness would be the issue.
2 years after the Dred Scott case, an abolitionist named John Brown organized a plot to free Southern slaves through armed intervention. In order to secure sufficient weaponry, he led a raiding party of 13 whites and 5 blacks into the federal arsenal at Harper's Ferry, Virginia.
John Brown contacted Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass and involved them in his Harper's Ferry plan to attack the slave-owning South and to liberate the slaves. Harriet Tubman was committed to join Brown. Frederick Douglass, however, studied the plan and determined that it would fail and decided that he would not be a part. Harriet Tubman would have been with John Brown at Harper's Ferry had she not become ill at the time. The courts would be sympathetic to their interests or that fairness would be the issue.
2 years after the Dred Scott case, an abolitionist named John Brown organized a plot to free Southern slaves through armed intervention. In order to secure sufficient weaponry, he led a raiding party of 13 whites and 5 blacks into the federal arsenal at Harper's Ferry, Virginia.
John Brown contacted Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass and involved them in his Harper's Ferry plan to attack the slave-owning South and to liberate the slaves. Harriet Tubman was committed to join Brown. Frederick Douglass, however, studied the plan and determined that it would fail and decided that he would not be a part. Harriet Tubman would have been with John Brown at Harper's Ferry had she not become ill at the time.
Brown wrested control of the armory, killed the town's mayor, and seized several hostages before he was captured by federal authorities and hanged 2 months later. In 1860, Abraham Lincoln was elected the 16th President of the United States. He opposed the expansion of slavery, and his victory threw the South into revolt. By March of 1861, 7 states, Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Louisiana, Mississippi, South Carolina, and Texas, had seceded from the Union to form a coalition they called the Confederate States of America. The Civil War began 1 month later when Confederate gunfire sounded over the federal stronghold of Fort Sumter in South Carolina. Lincoln responded by issuing a call for 75,000 volunteers to man the Union Army.
Some historians argue that economic issues were of utmost importance in the causing of the war. Many historians, though, have come to the conclusion in recent years that slavery was the key issue which caused the Civil War. At the heart of the Civil War was the issue of whether or not the slave states were going to be able to maintain their status.
The abolitionists presented the president with 2 demands: the right of freed blacks to fight with the Union Army and the emancipation of the slaves.
The abolitionists were the men and women, black and white, that wanted to abolish or to end slavery. Many of the abolitionists were in the North, and they fought for many years to change the system that the country had accepted.
I'd like to add also that for women abolitionists, speaking in public was tremendously courageous. That the early 19th century was a time in which women did not generally speak in public. It was not considered the thing to do for respectable women.
Eventually, Lincoln acceded to both demands. Nearly 185,000 blacks fought valiantly during the Civil War, and about 38,000 of them gave their lives to the Union's cause. In December 1862, Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, abolishing slavery. The war's end in April 1865 brought freedom to nearly 4 million slaves. Freedmen, as both males and females were called, celebrated throughout the South on plantations or at crossroads between them.
By word of mouth, news of the Emancipation Proclamation spread, I believe, like wildfire throughout the Confederacy. The ability of African Americans to transmit messages before the Civil War, during the Civil War, is legendary, and this was another example of that legendary ability to communicate.
In December 1865, Congress passed the 13th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States, guaranteeing the hard-won freedom of African slaves. It stated, "Neither slavery nor involuntary servitude shall exist within the United States." Emancipation throughout the South was followed by a period of intense confusion in which blacks made the dramatic transition from slavery to citizenship.
At first, a number of slaves decided to walk about, as the expression was in that time, to test freedom, to see what it really meant. But they soon discovered that life meant more than just having simple freedom without economic support. And so many were forced to go back to the old plantations and to contract with their owners for work.
In 1867, Congress, fed up with the pussyfooting of the president, who was then Andrew Johnson, a slaveholder from Tennessee, and a man who had been Lincoln's vice president and who ascended to the office with the assassination of President Lincoln, passed the first Reconstruction Act in March of that year. And that placed the 10 of the 11 states of the Confederacy, the Fighting South, under military rule in 5 districts and annulled the governments of those states.
This reconstruction ushered in an era of reform, but did not alter the economic disparity between the former slaves and their masters. The South complied with the dictates of Reconstruction only because the military now occupied their territory, enforcing the new laws. As part of this revolutionary pattern in the South, Congress extended the right to vote to all free men, thus granting formerly unheard of power to the blacks. This new block of black voters, without a corresponding economic foundation, only increased the ability of the Republican Party to maintain temporary control of the United States.
After the Reconstruction, government failed and the Northern soldiers were pulled out of the South. Violence increased in the South. Groups like the Ku Klux Klan were attempting to take away the rights that had been gained by African Americans.
As part of this revolutionary pattern in the South, Congress extended the right to vote to all free men, thus granting formerly unheard of power to the blacks. This new block of black voters, without a corresponding economic foundation, only increased the ability of the Republican Party to maintain temporary control of the United States.
After the Reconstruction, government failed and the Northern soldiers were pulled out of the South. Violence increased in the South. Groups like the Ku Klux Klan were attempting to take away the rights that had been gained by African Americans.
One of the things that I think young people today should be aware of is the range of extremely important contributions that African Americans have made to American society over the years, and that they've been able to make these contributions in the face of overwhelming odds. They have fought for rights which had been denied them, and which we now have available to us, and which quite often, quite frequently, we abuse, we don't take full advantage of.
The Civil War destroyed the institution of slavery, but it did not end the racism of white Southerners who wanted their former slaves to retain their inferior status. Discrimination against Americans of African descent would continue. Like Tubman and Douglass before them, new leaders would be called forward by African Americans to guide their fight for freedom.
Well, my people, we have made it to the end. Give thanks to the ones and ones who made it this far. Quite a journey. Yeah, man, quite a journey. But let me know what you think down in the comment section about this one, my people. Yeah, man, definitely let me know what you think. And you know, it's a Black Power movement. Drop a like and subscribe. Share to a friend or family so they can be a part of the movement. Now, catch you in the next one. Irie.